Okay, so now we're going to look at the second canyon where I got in Quicksand, and this one was in Harris Wash. And Harris Wash is much closer to Escalante. Here's Escalante right here, so it's not far down Hole in the Rock Road. And then there's a turnoff that you go on right here, and you follow it back, and you get to a nice little parking spot. And then you, like a lot of these canyons, it starts out kind of wide open, and you have a good bit of walking to do before it narrows down and you get into the sort of the slotted up narrow place. So this is the one, and this time I was not by myself. I probably didn't say that on the other canyon. I was by myself in Willow Gulch, but here in Harris I was with two other guys. And so that was nice to have some companionship, and also when you're going into the backcountry, especially as you start to get a little older, it's nice to have some other people along. So anyway, we made our way in, and this was a 2-night, 3-day trip, and so we had a really cool campsite, and I'll show you a picture of that, under this big alcove. And I'm not sure exactly which one of these turns in the river or the stream that it was, but anyway, it was along in here. And one of the days that we were heading off in the morning to photograph, we all kind of went our separate ways. That's kind of typical. I think when photographers get together, they want to be together at meal times and so forth, but then you kind of want to spread out and do your own thing while you're actually photographing. So that's what we were doing this one day, and sure enough, I found some quicksand again, and it had some similarities to the Willow Gulch occurrence. And I'm not going to be able to really show you, here where it was, or even a setup that was similar to it, like I was with Willow Gulch. But here's what was similar. I found myself in a place where I was pretty near a rock. Again, in this case, it was the sort of the wall of the canyon, and it was out of the main channel of the stream a little bit. So it was sort of like an eddy, or like a backflow kind of thing, where there was water, standing water, but it wasn't flowing regularly. And so we were able to splash up and down the stream in Harris Wash with no problem, but these little sort of side channels were where we started to find some quicksand. And so again, I was by myself, and I was photographing along, and I packed up and was just walking, and I got within maybe 3 feet of this wall in this setup as I described, off the main channel just a little bit, but there was still some standing water. And just like in the other case, one step was fine, and the next step I was in up to my knee. And in this case, I really felt stuck. I described in Willow Gulch, I was able to get out pretty quickly. And in this case, I was remembering that same occurrence, and I had my backpack on. In this case, I took my backpack off and threw it over onto the sort of the shore. It's not really a shore, but just some sort of drier land, because I didn't want the weight to keep weighing me down in this quicksand. Oh, and I should say, by the way, right here, in neither case has it been like you see on TV, where you just keep sinking and sinking and sinking, even though you're kind of afraid that's going to happen. But in neither case it was like that. But I still didn't want any more weight pushing me down further than I had, so that's why I got rid of the pack. But I did keep the tripod, had that in my hand again, and I was able to start kind of levering myself off the wall. Well, I was much more stuck this time than I was before, and I was pretty scared, because I was really stuck. It was a lot more grabbing me, and so I'm yelling for my friends. Okay, the first time in Willow Gulch, I was by myself. There was no yelling for anybody, but I'm screaming and yelling for my friends. But they'd gone on, they were somewhere else, and they couldn't hear me at all. So after a few minutes of that, it was obvious that wasn't going to help. So I started pulling my foot out, and I could feel my shoe was going to come off. And this is something that didn't happen in the Willow Gulch instance. I was wearing more of an ankle-high boot then, and so there was no indication at that instance that I couldn't just pull my leg out and keep my boot with me. But in this case, I was wearing some different footwear, and there's all kinds of thoughts on how to do water travel in canyons. And you know, when you first start going out there, you think, I have to keep my feet dry. And so you try really hard, and after a while you kind of realize that's not what people do. Usually they just wear an old pair of tennis shoes, and that's the advice that I got eventually. And so this is just a pair of Nike cross trainer type things, and it was great for walking in the canyon. You just splash through the stream, they get wet, but they drain pretty well. And you know, you're going to have wet feet, but that's okay. At the end of the day, you take them off, you dry them off, you carry a dry pair of socks, and you know, your feet are fine. But here's the problem. A shoe like this, you go to pull your foot up out of this quicksand, which is, you know, essentially a tube that's encasing your foot, so you kind of have to bend your foot down and pull it up, and it's coming right out of the shoe. And so, you know, I'm 5 miles back into this canyon, and yeah, you know, my friends would eventually, you know, find me and help me, but I don't want to be without a shoe for a 5-mile hike out, or whatever we might have to jury rig to make it work. So I needed to keep this shoe. So that meant I had to keep I don't know if I can do this, I had to keep my foot, you know, perpendicular and try to pull up through the weight of all that, you know, wet, mucky sand in order to keep my foot. If I just bent my ankle and pulled my leg out, the foot was coming out, the shoe was going to stay in. I could feel that happening. And so this is why in this case it was really a much worse situation. So I'm trying to lever against the wall there and keep that ankle stiff and just pull and pull and pull. And oh my gosh, that was a real strain. And I was probably stuck for, I don't know, 20 minutes before I was finally able to get the foot out and keep the shoe. And so it was not a pretty time, but it worked. And so my friends came upon me, you know, pretty quickly after I got out. And I'm like, I'm screaming for you guys, can't you know? And they see I'm covered with muck and what happened? And, you know, so anyway, but right after that happened, before my friends came back, I made what I think is the picture of the trip. And I'm so excited about this image. It's just a beautiful tree and just beautiful soft light, and just the shape and the style of this tree. I think it has a real story to tell with this broken branch on the side. And so I really want to show you that tree right now. So I really think that tree is very special, and I really, really love this image. And who knows what would have happened if I had, you know, hadn't gotten stuck in that quicksand right there. I might have gone a different way, or you know, the light wouldn't have been the same or something, and maybe I would have missed that picture. And I really, really think that one was very, very special. So that was my favorite picture, I think, of the trip, and maybe not just because I was stuck in quicksand right before, but I'm really pleased with that image. Now I'm going to show you one other one, because this one is actually at the spot where the quicksand happened. So what you can see in this picture is I'm photographing toward the light, and to the left of the image area is where the stream is. And it's got the good flow and, you know, no problem with quicksand. But just to the right, out of frame, is where this quicksand was. And so I was just over to the right there, and it was just this little sort of backwater eddy area, and that's where the quicksand was. Well, it turns out after this, and I'm talking to my friends, and I'm showing them where it happened, and we're talking about it, the rest of the trip we started to sort of notice these places that were sort of the same setup, where you have a main channel and then you have kind of a sort of a side little eddy where there's water, it's flowing a little bit, but it's not really flowing the same as the rest of the stream. And we found ourselves occasionally on some spongy sand. And of course, you know, because they knew my experience, it just happened, they were being very careful. And so nobody got really stuck. I think one guy said maybe he got up to his ankle and was able to just quickly get out at one point. But we were definitely on the alert. So I would say that for me, that's probably where I would avoid in the future, is those areas that are maybe 3 or 4 feet next to a big rock or the side of the flow, if it's not the main flow. Okay, if it's the main flow, I haven't had a problem. But if it's a little sort of a backwater, a little kind of an eddy, and it's near a sort of a big rock or the sidewall, that's where I've gotten stuck both times. And you know, if you start to feel the spongy as you're walking, you know, immediately just sort of go back. You could take your hiking staff or an extended tripod pole and kind of poke, you know, and if you can poke in pretty easily, then yeah, just find another way and try to stay safe. So always better to go with people, and you know, it'd be great if the people were close to you when you get stuck in the quicksand. But anyway, that's what happened to me, and those are the photographs that I made along the way, and I'm pretty happy with most of those. So I'm eager to go back to the Southwest, and I will certainly be looking out for quicksand and trying to avoid it. And I hope these tips have helped you a little bit maybe, and then you can enjoy your Southwest hikes as well. So thanks so much for watching this video. If you like the content of what you're seeing in this channel, please consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. And I look forward to having a sort of a community here and a dialogue. I'd love to hear in the comments below if you've ever been in quicksand or know someone who has, or if I've done it all wrong, please let me know, because I want to learn better how to stay safe out in the outdoors. So yeah, let me know what you feel like in the comments with regard to quicksand or anything else photography related. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.